Hey everyone, monster episode today. It's almost the last one pre-Christmas.
Yeah, we've gone annual now.
Yeah,
At least once a year.
We have to do an annual
I
one.
love it.
And you know, also the great thing is that everyone gets the pleasure of seeing our micro content very regularly on all platforms. So it's like, it's the residual value.
Yeah.
But it's great. So, for those that know you, co-founder, CEO of Global Street Art,
Yep.
PhD at Cambridge, evolutionary biology. We're going to be speaking about this unbroken contract of university, so it's relevant. Little stint in finance, and then building your own business, which is great. We're going to talk about 4 things. So we're going to go for the broken deal. So the contract when we grew up is different, I think, now. So we'll talk about university, whether it's worth going or not. We're going to talk about grit versus credentials.
Yeah.
Psychology of work, and then we're going to talk about AI perspective of how we're actually using it as business owners or not, and how far we go into it. But to kick off,
Sure.
You wanted to go through your napkin on.
Oh yeah.
Life.
So my entire life philosophy in a napkin.
Yeah.
It's funny. It took me 40-something years to get here. I don't have a napkin, but I've got a small note of paper, so I'm going to try it instead. And I was basically thinking about what it takes to get on in life. So I'm pretty upfront. I'm autism spectrum disorder. I don't view it as a disorder, but I'm in the neurodivergent category. And so some things I find particularly easy. I'm very mathsy. I'm very good at classifying things. The PhD in evolutionary biology was part of that. But some of the social things in life have never necessarily come naturally. But I grew up in a really supportive environment. So I made do, and I'd been thinking that through for years. So for the folks that don't know me, I'm a co-founder of Global Street Art. We're Europe's leading hand-painted advertising company. We were most people will think of us as something like a property company with an art wrapper. Right. We've got our own walls. Clients rent them. We paint those walls with their adverts. So we're often used as an execution partner. Go and paint this. Over time, that changed to a feasibility partner. Can you do this? Can you make my wall smell of strawberries? Can you put a billboard on it upside down? Can you projection map over the top at night? Can you? A feasibility partner. Well, over time, you build up a toolkit of things that you can do. So you know, the smelly walls, the UV paint, the UV lighting, all of that. So people would increasingly say, what could you do for us? Using us like a creative partner. Right. So we've got loads of projects where we've had, we come up with some ideas, fairly limited scope, but some really fun ideas. We realized though that we work with creative agencies, media agencies, outdoor media specialists, brands direct, lots of people in the creative industries. We didn't want to compete against anyone. Because we're a media owner, we didn't want to be viewed as a creative agency. It's not what we are. I mean, we are an agency that is creative, but we're not trying to do the work of a creative agency. So we said, how can we work with everyone without being viewed as competition by anyone? So we said, let's make something up. We'll be a market of one. We'll be the world's only inspiration partner. Because if you're inspiring, you help teams get more out of themselves. So I spent quite a lot of my time this year coming up with the practices around that. I teach a lot of creative thinking workshops, Shoreditch House to Soho House to the RSA to lots of brands that you know, even to creative agencies. But I teach now to people how to think more creatively. Another practice that we have is our in-house museum. So in Old Street, I built a museum in-house. It's a gallery space. There's 100,000 objects in the room. Google Arts and Culture came in and scanned it. So you can go to Google Maps, click see more photos, and it drops you in the room. The V&A has donated us 3 collections. That's how good our archive is. And so I've spent a lot of time over the course of my life classifying things, but it's usually objects. I thought I would try and turn that attention to classifying behaviors and the impact in that behavior. And because I was teaching workshops anyway, I was thinking, how am I going to teach this to other people? What does that look like? And so it led me in the end to summarizing my entire life. I'm not even going to say philosophy, but approach to working with people on a napkin. And it's so simple, it's painful, but it actually has some, I don't know about profound implications, but some useful implications, right? So in life,
if you can't see his drawing right now.
This is as good as my drawing is going to get, right? I've put a line down the middle and a plus on one side and a minus on the other side. All that really says is, in life, some stuff happens to you. Some of that is good and some of that is not good. Or you interpret it as not good. And it's out of your control. What is in your control is how you respond to it. So I've drawn another line, now a horizontal line, and there are now 4 squares. There is, Okay, I've messed up my own. Messed up my own. Luckily, it's so simple.
Stuff happens to him, he doesn't mind.
I can do it really quickly, right? This is what you end up with. Plus plus in the top right, plus minus, a minus minus, and a minus plus. What happens to you in life and how you respond? Plus plus is some good things happen and you add to it.
Yeah.
Contributing.
Yeah.
Something good happens, you made it better. You added to something, you were part of something. Give me a guess what plus minus is. Something good happens.
And you contribute nothing.
You ruin it. You mess it up.
Absolutely.
You screw it up. Now, it could be conscious. It could be unconscious. It might be out of ignorance. It might be that you don't know. But you ruin it is what that one is.
Yeah.
Minus minus. What's that? Something bad happens.
And you ruin it even more.
You make it worse. You make it worse. All right. And then the last one, minus plus.
Bad things happen, but you're positive and make it better.
You turn it around. Exactly that, right? Yeah. I observe that I have better days when I do the two at the top. Quite simple. If I've contributed or I've turned something around, I generally have a better day than if I ruined something or made it worse.
Yeah.
And the same for just about everyone else. So that seems really simple. Like deceptively simple. But when you look at it, if I'm having better days with a minus plus or a plus plus, it doesn't matter if good things or bad things happen to me. My response should be the same, generally speaking, the plus.
Yeah.
And so you lead with that.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you go for the positive thing and it has that impact. And then over time, what actually happens to you also changes. So this is in a very short term. This is what happens to me today, right now. Yeah. But the more you do this, the more you will start, not viewing things as negatives, but learning moments.
Yeah, yeah.
The more you can train yourself to find the positive and seek the positive because you're actually doing it. Yeah, it's so simple, but it's easy to teach. And I was talking about it with one of my team. He said, I'm going to show my 5-year-old that. And I thought that is how it is a good and useful thing. It's just a tool for conversation.
Love it. I should have showed my kids this morning because I had a minus morning.
Oh no!
I mean, but when the thing is with that is if you're conscious, and I think that's amazing. I was consciously having a minus. Kids were moaning, what's going on?
Right.
And then you react the same, and it just gets worse.
And doesn't it?
And it does. And you're like, why am I getting sucked in?
And every day you're binding a rope. You're making a rope until that rope gets stronger and stronger until one day you can't snap it. You've got habit. Yeah. Bad habits are easy to form and hard to break. Yeah. Good habits are hard to form, but they're relatively easy to maintain. It's a Rockefeller quote.
Yeah. And also when you're aware of it, and sometimes you can't help it, but if you're aware, you can just take a breath. You're kind of going down this negative thing.
Just because I know it doesn't mean I always do it.
Exactly.
Same as you, right?
Exactly.
Because we're all making these decisions under limited time, limited other resources, including one that you talk about a lot, our energy.
Yeah.
And when you're exhausted and you've had a rough day, sometimes you just can't be bothered. And it's protecting your energy levels and recognizing them is also a valuable conversation. So you're absolutely right to point out, all right, the napkin philosophy is reasonable, but the value is not the napkin, it's the conversation around it.
Yeah, definitely. And being prepared to have it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's a way to start.
Yeah. And it's great. Love that.
I don't know why that took me more than 40 years to get there. It seems so simple. That. I should have worked it out straight away. But I was like, well, someone said, well, you're really good at classifying things. Well, you do it a lot anyway. I was like, so now you've just classified everything else. And I'm like, in a manner of respects, I really have.
Yeah.
And I think as a tool for conversation and a tool for education, it's quite useful. I taught it in a workshop as a trial where I had a group of at-risk youth and we talked it through and I said, give examples of these different behaviors. And the reason that we did, on one, again, I split the paper, said, give me the examples of the minuses.
Yeah.
Give me the minus and the plus minus. In order that on the other side of the paper, give me the opposite. And there are more than one opposite to each of it. You might ruin it in a certain specific way. You might be spiteful, you might be jealous. The opposite of that might be support, or it might be love, or it could be a bunch of things that are positive acts.
Yeah.
But they're not all necessarily one thing. So again, it's more about a tool for thought.
Yeah, I love it.
But you never escape the pain. You never escape the uncertainty, and you never escape the need for the constant work. So even in saying this, realizing it today, it's still a challenge to do it tomorrow. You have to maintain those habits.
Yeah.
We're essentially gardening ourselves and our own habits.
Yeah. You've got to work really hard at it. Because otherwise, if you don't, you let other people control you.
Yeah, there is part of that. Or you let your own habits or parts of your nature or the less good
Or
parts
like
of you.
you're reacting to something,
Yeah,
which you could, to your point, you can choose to react in a different way.
absolutely.
And you can choose to have a better day. Because otherwise, a lot of people, you see it all the time. Something happens, they feel really hard done by.
Yep.
It affects their day, then a week, then their month. You know, like it can keep.
Positive people see problems, see opportunities in problems. Negative people see problems in opportunities.
Boom. There we go. Leading on to the broken deal.
Yes.
Let's talk about it, because it kind of, a lot of this is a little bit linked on how you think about things, right? But maybe just for context.
Yeah.
So I think when we were growing up, and this was back in like 90s, early 2000s when we went to university, the general thing was, I think this maybe started with John Major. Back in the 90s, it was a huge thing of like everyone needs to go to university. There was just a whole just big push, right? There was nothing talked about around, you know, go be a plumber or an electrician. In fact, it was frowned upon.
Yeah.
I don't think you kind of almost, no, I mean, I can't think of anyone in my social circle that were doing those kinds of things. But you'd go to university, whether you were like a grade A student or not. I wasn't a grade A student. I did enjoy going to university. I didn't use my degree after. I did do a job. I did take on debt, the whole thing, whether it was valuable or not, we can discuss it. But the deal was then was you go to university, you get a better job, you have access to better jobs, you can make more money, you can then think about buying a house and getting a mortgage and then live happily ever after. I think the deal's broken now. And I want to just, before you answer, I got a message from one of the newspapers and it asked me to comment, and I'm just going to read you the stat. So the stat being, so the pay for the typical single working age graduate is 30% lower today than it was in 2007 when adjusted for increased living costs, cutting the pay premium of graduates versus minimum wage salaries in half. Linked to that, PwC's entry-level salary for grads is now basically the same as the minimum wage.
Oof.
Which is interesting. That doesn't take into account, maybe you could earn more money as a grad, maybe not. I think there's a lot of context to it. But what do you...
Firstly, it's brutal. I think we look at the university experience as a whole, and then I think we need to look at it as a cost as well, right? So the key here is education. University was a route to a great education. Or that was how it was sold.
Yeah.
Then everyone got it, and you know, everyone was... The government at the time wanted everyone to have higher education. It is a very noble thing. A very, you know, a country raising its human capital is incredibly valuable to the nation. There are different ways of doing it. The fringe benefits most people got from university weren't just the education. For many of us, it was our first slice of freedom, first time away from home. And I think that is sad to lose, but the costs have increased immeasurably. The average student leaving university now, I have a friend who used to work with us. He's still 40K or so in debt from a 3-year course, many years after leaving university. That's a millstone.
Yeah, America's even worse.
America's far worse.
Yeah.
But you know, it's not as bad, but it's still really rough.
Yeah.
So those are 3 years where you could be earning, but you're actually sliding into debt. So it's not just that you're sliding into debt, it's the opportunity cost is that you would be above zero, but you're going below zero. So you've got the debt that you're sliding into and what you're not earning, the opportunity cost. That is so going to university now isn't the default choice that it was. You have to weigh it up more carefely. What does it mean for your prospects? Is there a technical education? Are you going into a course that will bona fide, you know, that is like an accounting degree or something like that where it's really practically useful? Or if you're thinking of doing that, could you do the qualification whilst you're in industry?
Yeah.
It's a different choice now.
Yeah, because also, I mean, again, to your point, is you can do internships, apprenticeships. Even if you go to university, do internships.
Yeah.
You can do apprenticeships, you can get work experience and things like that. But you have to it's hard to do the sums because a lot of the time you've got like the older generation advising the younger generation. And a lot of them have no idea what's, you know, it's like, go to university. You have to, right? And maybe like, because you know, the equation isn't necessarily just, to your point, and maybe also my point here is like, it's not just a starting salary. It might be also like there's value in the network you build, the connections you make.
Yeah.
You know, in some jobs,
Potentially.
you know, in a lot of jobs, whether we like it or not, I mean, it's very difficult to get into an investment bank or a private equity firm without a degree. Obviously, if you want to be a doctor, have to have a degree.
Yeah.
You know, lawyer. There's certain jobs where,
Yeah.
you know, if someone's operating on my heart, they better have every single degree under the sun. You know what I mean? But there's others, and then this is my broader point, is that we need to be giving better advice to young people, because you might not be suited to university, and actually you can earn really good money being a plumber.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
starting a business.
absolutely. And
Like-
the security, the job security
like-
in being a plumber is, you're one of the, you know, those kind of trade and skills, you're one of the least likely professions to be replaced dramatically by AI.
And also, look, Zuckerberg dropped out of university. One
Yeah,
of the
those
most wealthy.
I find those paradigms not that useful.
But there's also-
they usually did it because they had funding in some special situation.
There's some recent ones. There are some recent. My point is that my point is this: is that actually, your choice could be starting a business.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right? You might not be a billionaire,
absolutely.
obviously-
You will learn a lot by doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
And you've got, look, with the internet, you have access to the most amazing educational resources history has ever produced for free instantly. So if you've got the will to learn, you can do that anywhere. And that's not just, you know, with YouTube and podcasts. There's so many resources, and there's too much. We are swamped with data and information. And actually, one of the values of humans now is helping act as a filter, which is why people have their preferred podcast hosts. People will listen to, you know, certain business podcasts or whatever, because you view it as a reliable source of information.
The recruitment
One
show.
of the challenges that we have now is retaining information. With AI, we've offloaded. We you know, it's cognitive load.
Yeah.
So we've offloaded a lot of our cognition or parts of it to AI, which actually makes it harder for us to learn. The ways in which we learn as individuals and retain and remember the information for us to be able to act on it are very different to how we're receiving that fire hose of information with AI. It's not the first time in history there's been more information than we can consume. It's been that for hundreds and hundreds of years. But we can now receive information faster than we can think.
Yeah.
I mean, we could do that anyway, but it's knowing what the filtering becomes an even more challenging, even bigger challenge.
Yeah.
I always viewed my parents as very good answers to very different questions.
In what?
And well, they grew up in a different environment. Their context was different. So the world was moving slow enough at the time that the university recommendations still made sense. Just about. Fees came in after me, more or less. But it's moved so fast in the last 20 years that if I were making decisions based on my parents' view today and what essentially I inherited from them, it doesn't, you know, it was a job for life kind of environment, and that's not the case in the world
I've had
today.
a lot of people ask me. I was in Cape Town last week, went for a dinner. The guy was like, hey, he's got a son who's like 14. And they were like, what should I tell my son to do? Like, they were talking about, you know, like subjects, like what degree should he do? What career should I tell him to, you know, this kind of thing. It's quite interesting because, and you could see it in his eyes, like the dad's eyes. It was like, you know, a big burden on him to advise his son. He was looking for advice because, you know, when you're young, you need like people to
Mentorship is
get
really...
advice from. He's like, well, what should I, no. I'm like, hey man, like if I'm honest, maybe his job isn't even invented yet.
As well.
You know, maybe it's actually following something that you enjoy and be happy. I think
Yeah.
if I had my time again, I would do more of the subjects that I was actually really good at versus things that I maybe felt that I should have done.
I had a really good quote yesterday from a friend of mine, Marianne Shillingford. She's a creative director at AXA Nobel, make Dulux paint. She said, it was a very simple one, but I thought it was worth writing down. Give everything you're passionate about your best shot.
Yeah.
Because
okay.
actually, you're
Okay.
most likely to open up opportunities by doing that.
Yeah.
And you do need to be passionate to an extent about what you're doing, because otherwise the energy will fade. That doesn't mean you need to, you know, be on Britain's Got Talent and want to be a singer. Although if that's for you, fine. But you want to be able to be at least sufficiently passionate about what you're doing that you can get out of bed in the morning for it.
Yeah.
And even if that's not like necessarily the most interesting industry, you should at least be passionate about the people that you work with, because that will also keep you motivated, because you want to perform for the team.
But
which
even
is
to
what
get
drives
there,
you.
when you're young, you have to have someone to advise you. So let's say you want to be a doctor.
That's a good point. I
Right?
just
Like if you're from like, let's say a broken home, low socioeconomic background, something like that, you
Sure.
haven't got the role models around.
yeah.
but actually you're well suited to being a doctor. You've got to make the right GCSE choices in this country, right? So that's like 14, I think, years old. Then you've got to make the right A-level choices.
Sure.
Then,
So, okay, here we are, right? So everyone needs help. Everyone needs support. Everyone needs an education. That takes many different forms. Mentorship is really important. Timo, he says, look, one of his quotes is, you just need to be someone worth mentoring. So you're going to try and find mentors and be a really good mentee. And those mentors don't even need to be in real life. Podcasts are that.
Yeah.
You can learn in that way. You need to know how we learn. One of the reasons I even brought this book out is it's part life advice for anyone listening to the podcast, but it's also just personal practice. This is a Victorian invention. It's a commonplace book. It's not a to-do list.
Right.
It's where quotes go. It's where lessons go. If I listen to a podcast, I write notes. I wrote 6 pages of notes on a podcast last week because we learn spatially. You don't read it once or hear it once and it sticks. You have to, like a golfer practicing a swing, you have to practice the thoughts that you want to encode in your biological mind in order for them to stick. So one piece of advice for anyone, if you haven't got one, is get a flipping notebook and write down really useful things. You can get instantly amazing information and pretty good advice on all manner of topics from ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever, Perplexity, Claude. You could, but are you going to remember it? And that's the challenge. So if it's genuinely worth remembering, make the effort to remember it. And it has to be active. You have to write it down. You have to reread it over time. I have a couple of books like this. I used to do it years and years ago, and then I fell out of the habit. You never escape the need for the constant work. And this is my way of doing it. You're going to reinforce those lessons for yourself until they stick. But you won't get that with digital tools alone.
I've got to be honest. I'm digital tools. And that's probably a bad thing. I don't know. I mean, I could definitely benefit from the notebook and the pen.
It's not one or the other. It's one and the other.
Yeah, like, it's an and game. It's definitely an and game.
You remember more that you handwrite than you type.
True.
You remember more that you read in print than on screen. And you look, I mean, you can underline on screen, but it's not quite the same thing, right? You know, there are ways of doing both.
No, you're right.
But you have to practice the things that you want to remember.
No, you're 100%.
I'm supposed to be smart, but I'm not smart enough that you just tell me once and it sticks forever. I have to practice the same as absolutely everyone else. And that's just a tool for doing it. Bertrand Russell, the philosopher, wrote 3,000 words a day. That was his target. You don't, and it's similarly like writing anything. We now, it's almost a shame we call it journaling. Right, journaling is to fix your thinking and your thoughts, and it's a specific practice. But it used to be ubiquitous and just writing because it was the tools that we had available. When you write, you slow down. You have to form your thoughts around the speed at which you can handwrite.
True.
We sped up the speed at which we could write through typing. And which changes the way you think. Right. And for now, for the first time in history, we can think faster than we can think. That's AI, right? It's not only that we can think faster than we can write, or we can write faster than we can, but there was a feedback mechanism between writing as a practice and how you think. We did that for several thousand years. I don't think we should be so keen to abandon it, because writing makes us smarter. It's not that you write because you know what you're thinking. You're writing to figure out what you're thinking, or to help form your thoughts as a practice. But in a generation, do we teach handwriting anymore?
Yeah.
Great. I mean, I have kids, so you can tell that straight away.
My kid just got a pen license. She was delighted.
A pen license?
Yeah. So you start with pencil.
Yes.
And then once your writing is neat enough, you get your pen license. So you get this blue pen that you can actually rub out. It's very cute.
Very cute.
But anyway,
sure.
I mean, but your point, they are writing.
But that's not
can
you write, it's do you write? Do you have the habit of writing in order to organize your thoughts? And we have lost that very quickly.
We are losing it because there's so many, say better ways, but more efficient ways of organizing these kinds of things. I mean, actually, there are some really good things where you can write, writing. It feels like you're writing, and then it will automatically upload to like Dropbox or something like that, so you can keep everything organized. I mean, I'm I've gone quite into voice to text. And so I'm even speaking, I'm even doing it more like I'm speaking my thoughts. It works for me.
Yep.
I don't disagree at all.
I do the same as well. In
I
personal
should
notes.
do that. I should do that.
But then I want to write them up afterwards to spend the time thinking about it. The one thing AI will never do is think for you. It can automate tasks. It can speed things up. It can have habits akin to thinking, but it's not your thinking. And, there's a Spanish quote, if you want to appreciate the landscape, you have to climb the hill. And the effort required to learn something is what codifies it into your memory.
True. Everyone wants to get the helicopter, don't they?
Right, sure.
But no, you're,
Yeah, the
but
cable
it's
car
true,
up
it's
there,
true.
but do you remember that as much as hiking up the hill?
No, it's true. Right, let's park AI until we've got another. I want to do a whole AI thing. Let's just talk through Gen Z as well, because we've just talked a little bit about getting to the workforce.
Sure.
And I think probably the summary is, I would say is we're not cookie cutter people.
Sure.
And different things for different folks.
Yeah, and Gen Z is
finding
not
the
one
right
group of people. We say that, but generational commonalities. Let's go for it.
So I think for the uni debate, I think get some advice from a wide circle of people and think through what's good for you.
Get a mentor. Get a series of mentors.
Yeah.
And they also benefit by being a mentor.
And
right?
people love being a mentor.
Absolutely.
Most people will say yes.
And then form habits around it. Have a communication rhythm. How often do you meet? Can I send you a question once a month? I offered this to a young guy who was looking for mentorship. I said, I'm super busy right now, but just send me a question once a month. And I offered it. It may not have been something, but it would have been a start of a relationship. Didn't get a question. So it's like, take those. The clever person. This is I think it's a Napoleonic quote, to be honest. The clever man or woman uses everything they can to gain an advantage. The less clever person, by missing one thing, sometimes misses everything.
Yeah, sounds like a Sun Tzu quote or something.
Probably. I'm not a big
But
fan
absolutely.
of war quotes in business. I think they're completely inappropriate. But you are trying to. There are.
You're trying to stack the game in your favour. You're trying to stack the game in your favour,
right? It's not Roblox. It's not something in a very defined. It's the real world. It's messy. So how you gain an advantage for yourself or your business or progress. Advantage makes it sound like it's advantage over someone else.
Exactly.
It's just progress. How you find progress, it can come from anywhere. But you have to. That's why optimism and mindset is so important.
Massive. And now we have, I think it's 4 generations in the workforce, something like that. Is that
Boomers,
right? 3-4 generations in the workforce.
Gen X, millennials,
Gen X, millennials,
Z,
baby boomers,
and alpha.
Yeah, and people are working longer, right? I mean, there's no retirement age here.
Yeah,
Warren Buffett's still grinding.
I'm lucky I've still got a friend in the silent generation. Just about.
So I think this leads on to this thing we talk about is Gen Z. Let's talk about Gen Z, or that the younger generations are often viewed as lazy. A lot of them are prioritizing other things like their mental health. A lot of them are sticking to their working hours, super strict. We have this work from home or flexi working, remote work, whatever. There's kind of a lot of this kind of stuff around where people have been seen to be not working as hard as they might.
I'm not seeing this in my organisation.
There's a lot of that.
I'm just saying the Gen Z.
You're all in the office.
No, we work from home a couple of days a week. We've got some core days that we're in, but they work from home. But do I trust them? I'm thinking of in fact, all the Gen Z people on my team are fantastic.
But you've hired, let's say, good people.
I have.
Right. So I'm not saying it's Gen Z.
I mean, I know plenty of millennials that are terrible.
Yeah, there's loads of people.
I don't think it's necessary.
There are loads of people that are terrible.
Yeah.
But my point is that you're growing up in a different age, right? Like we were growing up, we were not on Facebook and Instagram, and that didn't even exist until our first year or second year of university.
Sure.
So a lot of kids are growing up watching things and being influenced by different stuff.
Yeah.
And that influences how people think about work, careers.
Absolutely.
And stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And in this fragmented media landscape, people are very susceptible to whatever niche that they're consuming. And we don't see it. We don't see what that content looks like. But great content is out there and it's available to everyone. So
depending on your algorithm.
Absolutely depending on your algorithm. But maybe that's one of the questions for your mentor, which is, what do you consume? What do you read? What should I be like? Like the algorithm only feeds you what you respond to. So stop responding to cat videos and respond to like business stuff or whatever it is that might be mentoring, and then find ways of committing it to memory and actioning it. That's the key, right? We learn who we are in practice, not in theory.
Isn't it interesting that you jump on your feed, and our feeds are all very different?
Yeah.
Right? And you'll jump on and it might be like, you know, the world is so hard, everyone's against me. All these kind of,
it really can be
negative content.
It really can
that
be.
can then completely influence your view of the world. Like that's how the world is. And damn, I'm entering the workforce.
We view the world not as it is, but as we are. And that's true. You know, you can interpret, two people will interpret the same activity completely differently. And you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And so I think it's quite interesting though, because it's probably never been easier to access different information if you choose to.
How hard is it, or how easy is it? Because I've never tried to change my algorithm. I mean, my algorithm, when I jump on these things,
I've seen articles on this. It's quite easy to change the algorithm. Yeah, but you can also like reset an account, right? You can, to change your algorithm, you just say, all right, I want to find, I'm gonna do a search. I'm gonna find some great thinkers. I'm gonna ask chat. I'm like, give me the top 10 business thinkers, philosophers, etc. Hey, Perplexity, recommend, or whatever, recommend some accounts, right? And then that's who you follow, that's who you subscribe. Within an hour of liking those key accounts, you will be fed more and more of that. And then you just have to be really conscious how and what you consume. If you don't like it, if it's negative, if it's rage bait, if whatever, then just do not respond to it. Learn to park that, because we are what we eat.
Yeah,
and so you
100%.
have to be careful what you consume.
100%. And that isn't just young. I mean, it's all generations. I mean, and I see this feeds into people's view of work, whether it's building business, like getting up the ladder or getting across, you know, all these kind of stuff.
I think boomers are some of them are most susceptible to terrible content on Facebook, because they're just not, they just take it all at face value. And I think everyone's had a grandparent or uncle or someone who's just sent them articles that you're like, why are you doing? Why? No, this is terrible. Don't read. This is bullshit. And if you're used to a traditional media landscape where there are a small number of information providers that are generally quite trusted, but at least their angles are clear and known, and they are right wing and they are left wing, and you may not see that or notice that or know who's feeding you and why they're feeding you when you are the product and the algorithm wants your attention. It's just what you respond to. But
you see it all the time. It's like this confirmation bias, right? It's like, I listen to your point of, you know, you listen to for your favorite podcast. It's like, well, Lee said it. Must be true. It's got to be true.
Word of mouth is still very powerful.
It's huge. I remember, I've said this story before, but there was like, just before the Olympics, there was like a 5K trial in the park near me in Parliament Hill. Yeah. And I was meeting some of the guys from my kids' school there, the dads. And one of them was like, I was like, how quickly do these guys run the 5K? And he was like, oh, they run it in like 12 minutes or something. I was like, oh, all right, cool. But my mate Dave told me that. And Dave's a bit of a runner. So I'm like, okay, cool, 12 minutes. Wow, that's solid. My quickest is like 22 or something, like, which is not bad. Anyway, so I get to the park and this guy's like, how quickly do they run this? I'm like, they run it in like 12 minutes. He's like, you sure? I'm like, yeah, Dave told me. Must be true. And he's like, are you sure? I'm like, well, anyway, I then Googled it. I mean, it was like way quicker than the world record. Right. I'm like, oh, and then it's maybe like dawned on me. I'm like, why am I? So we just slip into that, right?
So I think, it calls a few different things, like word of mouth, right? And trust of other people. In an environment of ubiquitous information, not all of which is good, fake news, trust issues, etc., we're bombarded by more information than we consume, and then we want to remember. We would rather it would be made easy for us. We still trust people, and this was one of the first things that happened with AI. And I know we'll move on to that in a second, but the first thing that happened with AI, and I think many people will be sympathetic to it, is sure it's changed the way we work. We can talk about that as well, but I bet you receive more spam, and I bet it's more tailored, and I have to block 20 emails a day, 20 email addresses a day, because I'm on a couple of mailing lists.
Let's talk about that, because we've got like 5 minutes
garbage
left. Let's talk about that.
Sure.
Just on filling on social media mindset, because it links right from the beginning, from your 4 quadrants to everything. It's been just way more. You have to be way more thoughtful about what you're watching. Is it true? With stuff like Nano Banana, which is Gemini's tool that can create photos and videos.
Yeah.
You're getting people that can create whole movies just from one person.
Yeah.
Is actually what you're watching and what you're looking at might not even exist or ever
It probably
existed.
doesn't. I think
So you just got to be really...
Spotify removed 75 million songs from their catalogue, I think, this year. They only have 150 million human ones. So
There's some incredible AI-generated ones. That's
Yeah, there
57.
are.
Anyway,
but there's also a lot of... So the word that is bounced around advertising a lot now is slop. The quantity of information produced increased massively with early digital and has only accelerated.
It's crazy. So your algorithm can be basically fake videos, fake news, fake narrative, fake stories. So just be like incredibly, and look, hey, New Year's coming up. Maybe just sit down for like an hour and just kind of have a little bit of a reset of like
your algorithm.
Like is it positive? Is it like helping you? Is it?
Do you know what? I don't think I've ever known anyone to like suggest doing an algorithm spring clean, but it probably does make sense. Is what I'm consuming? Do I deem it to be a good use of my time? What do I want? Do I want to be entertained? Do I want to be educated? Do I want to be well informed? What does that look like? And if so, what are the right channels for that? What's coming through my feed? What do I choose to prune or block? I block quite a lot of stuff anyway, because a lot gets recommended that is just drivel. Yeah. But that as a practice that you put in your calendar once a year, once every 6 months, once every 3 months, clean the feed. It's a really good idea.
Do it when you're stuffed with turkey. The other thing is what we do is we cleanse out. We're careful with who we want to be friends with, right? We're careful with who we surround ourselves with, which humans. So
why don't we do that digitally?
100% we should.
Yeah.
Right. AI. We've got 5 minutes left.
Yes.
How do you? We'll both share our what we do. But are you? It's obviously huge. Are you using it yourself? Are you using it in your business?
Of course, I am using it. Of course, we're using it as a business. I'm not using it vast amounts because an increasing amount of my role is IRL. It's giving talks, presentations, hosting tours around our space, teaching creative thinking workshops. Because the advertising landscape and AI has moved so quickly, partly I've wanted to double down on the things that I view as more stable, which is the human component. What I quite like, I heard a stat yesterday that by 2030, 25% of global transactions will be agent to agent or agent to consumer. They fall below what's called a line of indifference, where you're happy for the agent to make the purchase. Everything above that line, which is still expected to be 75% of commerce, is consumer to consumer or brand to consumer.
Right.
That's where our advertising, hand-painted advertising, large-scale murals, brand building, that still has a role to play. And I find that actually kind of reassuring, to be honest, because I think it's the digital that's going to be disturbed at the bottom. So how much am I using AI? I'm using Perplexity and Chat chiefly, document and summary presentations, quite basic use, image generation every once in a while for a concept, but it's pretty light. Are we at an agentic level? Not really. Am I using Gemini gems? Am I using that stuff? Am I vibes coding? I'm not at that level right now. We had some basic AI training. It didn't work especially well for the company at that time. We have folks in the company using things like Fixer. We were transcribing all of our meetings. I found that no one read the transcripts. It didn't help. And that's one thing that I'd noted in a friend's company. He was saying, actually, because they have... early AI transcription was voluminous and not necessarily. I didn't find it too useful.
No, it wasn't very
not
good.
For the action items.
Right.
So I found that I was getting better action items if I was still writing them down, and they were more condensed because I knew what I was looking for. AI doesn't have my context, and again, I preferred writing them down. I could save those notes. I could save some time by doing it with AI, but I was definitely getting what I wanted out of the meeting because I was doing it by hand.
Yeah.
But I know you're at the completely other end of the spectrum now.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, for us, we've automated a lot of stuff throughout our recruiting process, plus using AI in a bunch of ways. So we use Google Workspace. Yeah. So which is Google's business thing. For those that don't know, so it's Mail, Drive, Docs, Calendar, etc. They've got Gemini, which is they've done an incredible job. Their latest model's 3 something. and it's baked into everything. So for us, whether it's searching for people, and there's a lot of conversation around loads of companies and recruiters and headhunters use LinkedIn Recruiter. It's powered by AI, ChatGPT, Microsoft own both, or invested in both. And now the AI will go look for people with the right keywords and stuff. So it kind of supercharges sourcing a bit, difficult for people. But anyway, then we transcribe, we use Gemini. I think it's improved incredibly the last like 6 months. So rather than writing notes, it saves us an awful lot of time. We have a recruiting database that, again, we've automated everything we can. So we're linking a lot of the tools through automations. So whether it's copying data from one system to another, there's some really good, there's some great like tools, and it's very easy to do. Recruit CRM, who we use, they lent us one of their guys, and we automate a lot. For research, we use Perplexity and Gemini. So whenever we're meeting someone, even when preparing for a podcast, I mean, there's no excuse. If
there is no excuse. It's so
but
easy.
Just, give me, if I'm meeting Lewis Mallet, who runs the best search firm on the planet, tell me everything you need to know. That kind of stuff.
And like that use case, because it's you're only substituting in a Google search for a Perplexity search, an old Google search for a Perplexity search.
And now with Google, I'm
getting there.
It's got AI mode on the Google thing.
Yeah.
So,
and if you put in a hard quote, it triggers it automatically, and then you'll get different responses. So it's coming whether you like it or not. It's a search replacement, certainly. Implementing that internally, there's new tools like Fixer. Which
to organize your inbox. I use that.
Right.
I do use that. And there's a few other things that we use, but the Google stuff's great. I mean, in fact, Apple have just signed a deal with Google to use Gemini on their phones, I think, and chatbot and things like that. I don't think I'm wrong in saying that.
It's kind of happening anyway, and the whether you're almost like not going to be given an option. You're not going to be given an option of being left behind.
If you don't do it, everyone else is doing it.
Yeah.
So it's like, the combine harvest is coming down. You're like, that's never going to take my job, kind of thing. You've got to use all this stuff, but not saying like, you don't have to have the robot in your house yet, but you probably will.
Yep.
Tesla are making them, they're like 5,000 or something. But anyway, but for work, it's a great aid. And if you're not using it for research and things like that, you're missing a massive, massive trick. Yeah. Because for me, it's like
research, there's no excuse not to really. It's just, for me, it's the same tool. But how you then use, I think a lot of scaling companies have challenges in mapping their processes, full stop.
Oh, yeah. I think there's also a difference between large companies and smaller companies.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've spent, all the stuff I've just talked about, they're like 50 quid a month per user, right? A lot of these tools, and you can switch things into your tech stack and switch them out and stuff. But you see a lot of larger companies, they're paying an awful lot of money for consultants to come in and try and automate. So you can waste a lot of money with consultants and things like that, thinking through how to use it. And you feel like, as a business owner, you should be using it in some way.
There's definitely like fear as a service, hype as a service.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I've the majority of relatively, I would say, successful implementations have been at the smaller end of the scale, business scale. Like, it's individuals just kind of supercharging their outreach. Fundamentally.
Well, that's annoying.
Yeah, it really
that's
is.
Annoying. But for us, my measure has been how much time has it saved our crew. We use Notebook LM. If people aren't using Notebook LM, my God, you got to get on Notebook LM. It's a Google product. So it's notebook language model. You put all of your own sources of data in. So it's like your personal research assistant. Plus it's got Google deep research in. Definitely worth writing that down in the notebook. The real notebook with the pen. And it just is unbelievably incredible. I've got like a notebook, I've called it an everything notebook.
What does your tech stack look like?
Maybe I should have it on that. So we're a search firm. So we have Google. We have Recruit CRM, which is our CRM and ATS, applicant tracking system. We use LinkedIn. So it's paid LinkedIn recruiter thing. I use Whisper Flow, which is really good, and it's voice to text.
Yeah.
but it's like super accurate, and I basically don't have to write. And when I'm writing emails, and I'm doing a lot of like WhatsApp, email, chats, like most of my business communication is through that. And I can't be bothered to keep typing or swiping all the time. And so, and I couldn't find something that was really accurate. Sometimes I use Android. Sometimes you have to correct the words. Whisper Flow, boom. I use Fixer AI.
Yeah.
It writes drafts for me in my emails.
Learns your tone.
Learns my tone, how I've written in the past. I can then go in, I'll edit it, and I'll send it. It does a bit of the heavy lifting for me.
Yeah.
Which is useful.
Yeah.
And then Gemini and Perplexity we've talked about. So we're using that. And that's it, I think, pretty much. Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's not expensive.
No.
And the point is it's saved, we transcribe all our interviews.
Yeah.
We're using Google Gemini, and it's saved our team an awful lot of time, which means they can spend time speaking to people, doing the human stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the aim.
Yeah. Boom. That's it. Subscribe on all the usual places: Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. Yeah, thanks, man. Done.